Move that we reopen the public hearing for the MBTA zoning bylaw amendments.
Very good. Motion made. Seconded, motion made by Mr. Woodhams, second by Mr. Orban, I think, to reopen the MBTA community zoning bylaw amendment hearing, public hearing. Mr. Buasi,
Aye.
Mr. English,
Aye.
Mr. Orban,
Aye.
Mr. Schlesinger,
Aye.
Mr. Woodall,
Aye.
Mr. Woodhams.
Aye.
Maloney votes aye. This public hearing is reopened. Mr. Woodhams, I think I'm going to turn the floor over to you on this one. We had a conversation, and well, I'll tell you what, Chuck. The first thing I'll tell you is I did have a communication with the town manager about this, and I asked him, look, what are the prospects for a special town meeting being called by the select board between now and July 14th? He said there's no plans that at the moment, but his advice is for us to be ready to move quickly if things change. They're waiting for probably summary judgment from the judge who is hearing our legal challenge to this. And the state is seeking what do you call it, a dismissal. So if we agree that we ought to be ready, just in case all of a sudden, bang, we have to meet on July 14th at King Philip High, what do you advise? You're the only remaining member of that subcommittee we had last year, so that's why I call on you.
Right. I mean, the work of the subcommittee, most of the time that we spent was just trying to determine locations. That was the probably 85% of the deliberations that we had. Once we've settled on those, then we worked on the actual language of the bylaw itself. My feeling is that the bylaw itself, other than the discussions that we've had about locations, doesn't really need any tweaking, although I will just sorry, Rachel, going to call on you. Since we've gone from the original guidelines to requirements, has anything significantly changed as far as what were guidelines when we designed the last and what are now legally recognized regulations? Anything that we need to be aware of that would have changed the bylaw exclusive of the location?
No, the language was pretty much all the same, except they gave you, till July 14th.
Right.
But all the language.
The guidelines as they were guidelines have just been recognized as legally binding requirements. Correct.
Correct.
Yeah, so, and the planning board's charge in this is to develop a bylaw to present to town meeting. It's not our charge to present it or to schedule it or to consider it. My feeling, for what it's worth, is that we should proceed as if there's going to be a special town meeting sometime between now and July 14th and settle on a proposed bylaw should that occur. If it doesn't occur, then we've lost nothing. But I think if we hesitate, we could be scrambling at the last minute. And so my feeling is leave the guts of the bylaw as is, and only discuss the possibility, whatever parts of it would have to be tweaked if we change the original locations. I don't think there was a lot. I mean, it's the Elysium Street, I don't think was as much of a hot button issue as East Street. And last time we all met, the discussion was about moving the east off of East Street and to somewhere else, which is fine with me. Seems to be the consensus. Seemed to be the consensus of the board at the time. Seemed to be the feeling from the public that location was important to change, and I have no problem with the board considering it under your guidance, to change that location.
Okay. Thank you, Chuck. Before we continue, I want to make sure Mr. Woodall and Mr. Schlesinger, I know you were not on this board when we dealt with this issue in 2024. You did get an email from Rachel a week or two ago with a little packet on this. Do you both feel up to speed enough on the MBTA community's business to participate in the conversation?
Yeah, so the last meeting, everyone spoke on maybe changing it to Ledgeview. Is that correct? That's new proposed location?
That is a proposed location. That is a possible proposed location. Yes, sir.
Okay.
Um,
Yeah, I feel up to speed on it.
Okay. Justin, how about you? You feel okay you feel up to speed on this matter?
Well, I'm not up to speed on a lot of things, but given this, yes, and Rachel's package was great, so yes, thank you.
Good. All right, very good. All right, then if we like, and I want to hear from everybody on this one, but if we like the language, if we're okay with the language, minus any specific references to sites that would have to be changed if we change a site, then we're really talking, as Chuck said, about the district, and specifically, it appears, I agree with Chuck, there was really one sub-district in the district that seemed to be, we seem to be having second thoughts on. That is the East Street property, and we did talk about substitute sites, and the one that seemed to be popular was a place parcel called Ledgeview down at the junction of Madison and Route 1. So I suppose, Chuck, you and I talked briefly about should we reconvene the subcommittee to do some of this work, but can we just do this with ourselves? We have to hear from the public too tonight, but can we forego the subcommittee process, you think?
I don't think the subcommittee is really necessary at this point. But the work of the subcommittee paved the way for where we are now. I think it's just a matter of changing that one site off of East Street to whether it's Ledgeview or some other place. I think that's something that this board can deliberate as a whole. I don't think there's a need to convene another subcommittee.
Okay.
That's my opinion.
Okay, well, why don't we go around the horn then here and just see what people are thinking now. Mr. Bouassi, where are you on this at this moment?
My only question is on Ledgeview, say, what, 40B? So, if we could check with town council there on their opinion about the potential impact on whether the 40B could be converted to not a 40B. That would be the one concern about that location. Otherwise, I think it's a very good location because it's already denser than MBTA requires. So it's really no impact on the town location, which seems to be what people want. So seems like a win-win. We can be in compliance and have nothing change, assuming the 40B issue is, not real. If that makes sense. Sorry, I'm a bit tired now, but that's all I got.
The concern is losing credit for the subsidized housing inventory of 220 units there, and I did communicate with the town council on that. He said, and Rachel, I think you and I talked about it too. I think he said something. Well, I suppose they could try, but not sure why they would, at this point. But what is your feeling on that, Rachel?
This did come up in the subcommittee as well, and we did have an answer from town council and saying that, I mean, you can't, in planning, you can't say never. If somebody wants to make something happen, they're going to make it happen, but why would they in this point? There's a lot of different hurdles that you've got to go through. It's not even worth it at that point to do it. But it's not anything that there's a process involved. And the state is probably not going to remove it because we don't have enough affordable housing.
Okay.
Rachel, sorry, Mr. Chair, if you don't mind.
No, go ahead. Just Alfred, are you all set on that? Okay.
I'm all set. Yep.
Very good. Mr. Woodhams.
I just wanted to go back to talking about the subcommittee. I know at one point you and Mr. McKnight, maybe Mr. Lawrence, I don't remember if he was in on that, met with a representative from EOHLC, where we finally got some of the answers that we had been asking all along and had not been able to get. And I thought that the 40B aspect was one of the things that they addressed, where they said that it would not, because we had talked about possibly putting it at Eagle Brook Estates as well. And the concern had always been, would we lose the 40B credit that we have? And I thought that the response from EOHLC was that we would not, but my memory is not what it used to be. So
Yeah, it may have, I didn't take meeting minutes for it. It was not a recorded meeting, but
Right.
I do believe it was also addressed in that too, along with, while EOHLC is reviewing the bylaw, we are not in not compliance. You know, we're
Right.
still in compliance while they review. And even if they do find things that they have issues with, they're not going to remove or make us not compliant. They'll work with us to make us compliant.
yeah, I think that my feeling is the threat to the rescinding of the 40B or the altering of the 40B is probably a fairly minimal risk. But like you should never say never.
Yeah. You've got the executive office, you've got town council,
Right.
and it, as Rachel says, it doesn't even seem practical. And Alfred pointed that out too. So, all right, Mr. English, where are you on this?
So I will also note, sorry to interject.
Yeah.
Now that we've have so much time and the largest cohort of MBTA communities, which is what the group that we are in, adjacent communities, since they have had a deadline of December of 2024, we do have sort of evidence other communities are doing this as well. They're putting on already existing, multifamily developments already, and 40Bs are among those as well within their town. So we do have evidence, and the state has approved those too. So that's also another. So we've got three different things to hang your hat on.
Okay. Mr. English, questions, comments?
Mr. Chairman, well, it seems peculiar to consider removing affordable housing to then overlay the MBTA, which has no affordable component in it, other than what we as a town have. So we worked hard on this thing, Tom, and a lot of us tore our hair out. I was a substitute on the subcommittee, and it was arduous. It was an exhaustive search and evaluation, and Rachel, to her credit, she's going to run this thing through the magic mixer to make sure that it's compliant. So it was a good bit of effort here. I'm comfortable with what we proposed, and I continue to be comfortable with what we proposed without change. That's my 2 cents.
All right, very good. Thank you. Mr. Orban.
Yeah, I mean, I'll go back to that. I think we talked at the last meeting on this. I remain comfortable with what we proposed, but after hearing from, the public a little bit more this go around, I'm also comfortable with moving the East Street property over to Ledgeview. I do wholeheartedly agree with Mr. Woodhams in that there's no reason to wait. There's no deadline or time period which the court has to decide anything. It could come down tomorrow morning. So I don't think there's any reason for us, if we're ready enough to go forward, that we should wait any further. As somebody that didn't sit in any of these subcommittees or do anything, I still thought it was arduous. So I can only imagine what you guys felt. Then I know there's only one,
Yeah.
full member left, but I can only, imagine. So I'm ready to move forward in sort of either the direction, but I would be comfortable either way with keeping East Street or with moving the East Street site over to Ledgeview.
Okay. Very good. Thank you. Mr. Schlesinger. Questions, comments, or concerns about MBTA communities?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I would agree. I can see the positives for Ledgeview, but I do understand probably the sweat and toil that has gone into this. As far as I'm concerned, I think what is proposed should stand at the moment. So that's my 2
Okay.
cents. Yeah.
Thank you. Mr. Woodall.
I'm fine with the way it's proposed. I did see the pros and cons of both of them. East Street, I'm pretty comfortable with. The other location, I'm fine with. I don't see that ever changing, so I'm pretty good with how it's proposed.
All right, then Mr. Woodhams will come back to you, and then I want to go to the public. But the reason for our consideration of an alternate site to East Street is it fair to say that this, I think you just went over it, but there's some information that you might not have had back in, say, October that you feel more comfortable with now, that Ledgeview was under consideration at that time, but there was just a couple of hurdles. We couldn't get the information, so we went to East Street and Elysium. But now that we have some clarification, Ledgeview might look better. Is that, am I describing that fairly?
Yeah, I would say we did get some more information as things went on, but we had kind of settled in by that point with the two locations. But my feeling on the locations is as somebody that did do that sweat and toil, and it was long, arduous. We spent a lot of hours, battle a lot of things back and forth. My overall desire is to come up with locations that the residents of the town are going to be comfortable with. That if they should choose to support compliance, that they are comfortable with the locations. And if they choose not to support compliance, it's not because of the locations, it's because of their opposition to the law itself. I would not want to put the town in a position where we're non-compliant because we didn't pick the right spots. I'm totally comfortable with Elysium, and while I was comfortable with East Street at the time, we've also gotten a lot of feedback from the public in the interim that we had not gotten before, and we didn't do the kind of outreach that I wish we had the opportunity to do, and there were a number of factors for that. But given much of the feedback that we've received, I am far more in favor of moving this to Ledgeview and taking it off of East Street. Keeping Elysium as it is, I don't have an issue with that location per se. I think that location itself is going to be a challenge enough for someone to develop. I don't foresee it being a hot property in this state. I think there are locations in the state that a developer is going to be much more inclined to do. But if it means a comfort level for the residents to move it off the East Street property, I'm totally in favor of that. And even though it would put it at the bottom of my street where there's already development, it's already there. I'm already dealing with it. I'm already seeing the effects of it. And I don't think it would be adding, a significant additional burden to it, as long as we can make the acreage work out. And that's something that Rachel would probably have to look at, and we would have to review as a board. If we can work out I would be much more in favor of moving it down to the end of, down to the Ledgeview.
Okay. All right. Mr. English, could we get a buy-in from you on this if we, the Ledgeview for each mute
My wife tells me it's better when I'm muted. Yes, absolutely. You can get a buy-in from me. My issue was that the underlying issue for all of this is affordable housing, and we're not. I don't want to adversely impact affordable zoning for the benefit of hustling this around. But would I be willing to change my vote? Sure. I mean, I've heard a lot since it started with Alfred, and it goes. I mean, like a lot of these decisions, your decision moves while we're in these hearings. So that's where I am. Those are my principles. I have others. I can change them.
Very good. All right. If the board members are all set, I will seek Any comment from the public?
Mr. Selectman, just one more question for you. Again, obviously new to, new to the board here, what type of polling or anything like that was done? What was the, approach on that for the public as far as properties and things like that?
Mr. Woodhams, I'll refer that question to you.
There was not any formal polling done prior to the proposed bylaw that the planning board ultimately did put together, but I believe in the time since then, Rachel could correct me, there has been some surveys made available to the public, and I don't know if we've gotten any results from those. You can answer that, Rachel. I know
Rachel, maybe you would have more insight on that.
Yes, yes. Mr. Woodhams is correct. We had done some surveys and tried to get them out there. I was just going to bring them up as they're within that folder structure. Lots of public comments. I will put it in the chat.
They're at the bottom. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Yep. All right. Yeah. All right. I didn't know if there was anything, additional, if there had been any other, public forums where people were giving their 2 cents, and we had gotten some more feedback or something like that.
No public forums were held outside of the subcommittee meetings, but no sort of as a planner, a public forum, how I understand them to be, was not held. No.
Okay. All right. Appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Schlesinger. All right, let's see. We have certain members of the public here. Does anybody wish to speak? If so, raise your hand. Speak now or forever hold your peace. I see no hands going up. I do see a hand. Jay Brooks. Mr. Brooks, the floor is yours. You've addressed us a couple of times on this matter. Do you have anything different to offer from what you have in the past?
So this is John Brooks, 20 Wisteria Way in Wrentham. I won't say I have anything actually new, but given the composition of board members, I just want to follow up on Mr. Woodhams, or I guess I'm speaking through you, Mr. Chairman. But in response to Mr. Woodham's comment, I think it's just important to stress that, I recommend that the board select properties that are going to pass a town vote. And I bring that up because I think you're going to find that a lot of the pushback that was done on the town vote last time, you're going to have a lot of the people on pushing back on the East Street property, right? So if you select the East Street property, a lot of the people who are very interested in making sure that the town votes will be very interested in making sure that their point of view and not selecting the East Street property is heard. So with that, I'd also like to just say, I think that I would like to see properties reconsidered. I think priority is the East Street property. I like the consideration of the Ledgeview property in replacement for that. But for the new members, I'd also like to make sure you understand that I think that the Elysium Street property should be reconsidered too. Early on in the process for the subcommittee, I don't mean to speak for them, but I think you'll find that there were other properties. The Eagle Brook property on 140 was considered at one point. The properties at the mall were considered, and they were highly considered. So it's not like a new proposal by me. I think you'll find that they were considered. And then at one point in the selection process, I think East Street and Elysium were brought up. I think it was brought up pretty late in the process. So if you take a look at the history, it's not a new proposal, but if you want to reconsider, I think that you should reconsider instead of the Elysium Street, the Eagle Brook, and the outlet properties. The Elysium Street property is pretty cool if you ever go out there. It's woods by the lake, really, really cool. And then I just have a comment or question, and that has to do with the process. You know, I understand the town's reconsidering the law, they'll push back, but if the state were to come back and do everything that they needed to do, I'm curious as far as how the planning board is going to control or handle the public hearing process of this, you know, consider the community's comments and things of that sort.
Very good. Thank you, sir. I think what we're seeking to do now is to be prepared for the possibility of a July special town meeting, in which case we do have to move quickly. I don't see, and I'm speaking from what I've heard here, I don't see any sentiment on this board to change the Elysium Street property. It's really a question of do we also keep East Street in the proposal, or do we switch out East Street for Ledgeview? That seems to be where this conversation is going, and there has, at least for the time being, unless the legislature extends the time frames, I think we probably ought to get ready to put something together that can be used in July if a special town meeting is called. If none is called, well, then we can go back into the process again, I suppose. But there are proposals in the legislature, by the way, Mr. Brooks, to extend all deadlines by 2 years, and other proposals relating to this law. Don't know how far they'll go. But,
If I could follow up, Mr. Chairman.
Absolutely, sir. Go ahead.
So the comment would just be, if there isn't a need to close the public hearing, right, I would just kind of request that you don't close the public hearing.
All right, we'll see about
Would-
that, sir.
Yeah,
Thank
okay.
you. Thank you. All right, and I see Donna Snow Hines, your hand is up, Donna, and don't forget to unmute.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just want to say, being part of the beneficiaries of the Snow property, which again, I don't have the final say as to what actually happens to it.
Excuse me, Donna, that's the East Street.
I'm
property.
sorry,
We're calling collectively the
Donna
East Street.
Hines, 825 East Street.
Thank you.
The East Street property that is being considered to comply with the MBTA zoning is owned by my family and has been for generations. I recall it being fields at one time that used to be hayed. It was part of a farm, and then it was put into forestation and allowed to grow to what it is now, with home to habitat to many different types of wildlife. It's a wonderful, beautiful place. My family has sold some individual house lots over the last few years for single family homes. I'm not sure what the person with the controlling shares in the trust has planned for that property, but I can assure you it certainly wouldn't be something with high density housing. I don't know that, I don't foresee anything changing with it in the very near future. But again, I don't have control over what does happen to it at the end of the day. But since we found out about Ledgeview being compliant with the MBTA zoning, I would strongly recommend that that be used in place of the East Street property, just to be in compliance. And I'm not sure when East Street initially was brought forward for consideration. It was immediately taken off the board because of the type of property that it is, with forested and wildlife and everything. I'm not sure why it was brought back to the table. But in my opinion, obviously, I think it should remain off the table. It's not a good location. Norfolk's got something going in on 115, and the congestion would just be horrible down here at this end of town. And that's all I have at the moment. Thank you.
Thank you very much. All right. Mr. Brooks, let's be brief, please, sir. Go ahead.
All I want to do is just say, I don't mean to poo-poo all the hard work that you guys did, by the way. That was a lot of hard work you guys did. I appreciate it. Just trying to put 2 cents in, so I appreciate you reconsidering.
We appreciate you attending our meetings, sir, too. Thank you. We really do. And participating in the conversations. All right. If there's no one else from the public who wishes to speak, I will go back to the board and ask, what is the pleasure of the board? Do we want to direct the town planner to redraft the sub-district, the district, the mapping part of the bylaw to replace East Street with Ledgeview? If so, Rachel will need to know that we wanted to do that because it'll take some time. And, or if we want to continue this hearing for another 2 weeks and talk about it, then we can do that. So I'd like to be able to give Rachel some direction here if that is our plan.
Well, no one else is going to speak. I didn't know if you were going to do a straw vote alphabetically. Let's go backwards. We'll start with me.
Okay. Okay.
It would be my desire to direct Rachel to rework the previously proposed bylaw and change the location of, take East Street out of the bylaw and replace it with Ledgeview and whatever acreage we would have to use to configure that to make sure that we're compliant with the MBTA requirements. I don't
Okay.
know if you need more guidance than that, at least initially, Rachel, or you tell me.
No, that should be fine. I'll run it through that compliance model to see how it stacks up. And yeah, I'll get back to you. In the meantime, if you review those, if anybody wants any other locations and the Elysium Street one is off the list, also please let me know that too. I
Well-
think we've already run all of the sites through that
Okay.
compliance model, so I probably have an iteration of it somewhere in my files.
And for
Two?
the record, I'm not at all opposed to if we want to consider swapping Elysium for Eaglebrook, and so we put this over Eaglebrook in Ledgeview. I wouldn't have a problem with that. I will just give the nickel feedback on 5-cent feedback on what happened with the proposal with the outlets. It was the subcommittee's feeling that was not a great place because that would almost guarantee at some point that it would be built because they have the infrastructure there already. They've already got wastewater treatment. They've got plenty of space. And one of the other considerations is that this is an overlay district. This is not a rezoning. So whatever the zoning allowances are existing would translate to the MBTA, so they could build much taller structures there than you can in the areas that we're talking about are 2.5-story maximum. And if they were to do it at the outlets, that allows for, is it 4 stories, Rachel?
No,
believe
that's the C3. That's the C3. I think this is only 3 stories.
The outlets?
Yeah,
talking
but
about-
the overlay, you can set it because it's an overlay. It sits on top. If they,
Right, but
you
I'm
can
saying
set your
that-
dimensional regulations for that at 2.5 feet. Or sorry, stories, not feet. So you could, the overlay, it's one or the other. If
Right.
they want to take advantage of the overlay, that usurps the underlaying zoning.
Okay,
So
I
you
thought
can have more restrictive or less restrictive in your overlay zone.
So they can't go à la carte between 2 zones. They either go with the underlying zoning or the overlay and live with all the rules in the one you pick.
Correct. Yes. This was kind of what had come up, I think, with like another, we had changed some bylaw, similar type of a thing. But yeah, so your overlays can be more restrictive or less restrictive than the underlying zoning.
All right, that's not what I understood. My understanding was that we would have to allow them to build to whatever is allowed in the C3 right now. So if that's the case, then I stand corrected. But I still,
It feels like forever ago, Chuck, so.
Yeah.
okay.
All right, Chuck, thank you. Now you saw the problems I had with the alphabet a little earlier. He was going backwards. Mr. Woodall.
So if we do the Ledgeview parcels, we'll be able to get the 20 acres if we do that in the overlay area. Is that what you're saying, Chuck? We'll be able to get the 20 acres that we need?
I thought we had looked at it previously, at least not in depth, but I thought that between the, if not, because you have to remember when we're talking about Ledgeview, the apartments
Yep.
are a separate entity from the rest of that development. And I believe that just where the apartments are and the land around it was going to bring us very close to the required acreage that we would need. If we have to have 50 total, at least 25 has to be contiguous. Elysium Street took care of the 25 contiguous. So then it would just be a matter of making up the balance of it at whatever other location we came up with. East Street had been, I want to say, about 21. So we would just need to make that 21 up at that back part of Ledgeview. And I thought that if
I thought we did. I think it is there, isn't it, Rachel? Do you have acreage? On
For the apartment building complex, it's assessor's map is telling me it is 17 acres.
so, we'd have to make up another 3 or 4 acres.
Yeah, either you can expand the Elysium Street project, or you can you can't have a zone that's less than 5 acres in size.
Pick another 5-acre parcel somewhere else, which would be another thing that you'd have to put into the proposed law and run it through your compliance model.
Well, how about what's next to Ledgeview?
State forest and
The
condos.
the hotel, and then
Oh,
the
yeah. Oh,
assisted
yeah.
living.
Gonna change the assisted living.
Yeah, half of the hotel.
Yeah. Could we combine the apartments and the assisted living? Would that give us the
Let's see what that one is.
acreage?
That one is 4.45 according to
So
the
if-
assessor's
So
map.
if we did those two combined, that would give us the acreage that we need.
Yep.
Okay, that would be
Okay.
my proposal then.
All right, very good. Mr. Woodall, what do you think about that? Would that make sense for you too? If we could do it all right down there? at
That would
Ledgeview?
make more sense for me. Yeah.
Okay. All right, very good. Mr. Schlesinger, you also kind of like the map as it is now. Can you live with the substitution of Ledgeview for East Street?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I think that constitutes a good solution for what we're looking for. I think it's a good area, and as long as that meets the requirements, I think it's fantastic. Yes.
Okay.
So
All right, very good. Mr. Orban?
Yeah, I would be comfortable with adding Ledgeview and replacing that for the East Street property. I don't like the idea. I think we stick with Elysium. I know Mr. Woodham has mentioned possibly switching that out too. I don't want to switch both of them out. I don't like the idea of digging into more, potential other issues there. I think we've, that's what I'd be comfortable with. I guess I can just leave it at that at this point in time.
Okay, thank you. Mr. English, back to you again for the third time, sir. And you have to unmute.
My apologies. It is what it is. If it will be compliant and we don't end up hitting a beehive with this thing, that creates a lot of other discord in the public, I'm okay with it. So that's
Okay.
where I am.
Okay, and Mr. Buasi, Ledgeview for East Street.
Yeah, I'm in support of it. I like that we got up to the 25 that we needed, 25 acres. And I do also want to say, I think it would be strange to bring back the 2 original sites, even though some things have changed. It was voted down by significant margin. So I like the idea of at least changing one site, because
Okay,
bringing both back after it was voted down just seems odd to me.
all
But
right,
that's just whatever the will of the board is.
okay.
Yeah.
Well, then, I'll tell you what, then, Mr. Buasi, are you willing to make a motion that we direct the planning director to redraw the maps, not the language only insofar it has to be done to harmonize with the map, but direct the planning director to redraw the map to take out the East Street property as a sub-district and replace it with what we call Ledgeview?
Yes, I would. So moved.
Very good.
Second.
And we have a second from Mr. Schlesinger. Is there any further discussion on this? Hearing none, we'll put it to a vote. Mr. Boissy,
Aye.
Mr. English,
Yeah, you're on mute, Rob. For the fourth time.
Well, nobody wants to hear what's going on here.
you just need one
Aye.
syllable here, Rob.
Start doing a thumbs up or something here. My
Okay.
apologies.
So-
I'll stop muting.
All right, Mr. Orban,
Aye.
Mr. Schlesinger,
Aye.
Mr. Woodall,
Aye.
Mr. Woodhams,
Aye.
and Maloney votes aye. It's unanimous. Rachel, thank you very much. We appreciate your help on this. And so that means, I guess, Rachel, we should continue this hearing to the next meeting so that we can vote on your document. Does that, or do you want to do, or should we end the hearing now?
No, you can keep it open, continue to the
Okay.
next meeting, and you'll just, make once that's finalized, you don't want to change anything, you'd vote to make, a recommendation to, for a town meeting. And now your recommendation is good for 6 months.
Okay. Very good. Well, then we'll entertain a motion to continue this public hearing until our next meeting, which is on June 4th.
At 7:15, so moved.
7:15, thank you, yeah.
Second.
A motion made by Mr. Woodham, seconded by Mr. Orban. Mr. Boissy,
Aye.
Mr. English,
Aye.
Mr. Orban,
Aye.
Mr. Schlesinger,
Aye.
Mr. Woodall,
Aye.
Mr. Woodhams.
Aye.
Let's tell Mr. English he was muted.